It is incredibly important to know what season you're in. We're studying Ecclesiastes. We're in chapter 3. Let's talk about that. Hi, my name is Larry Underwood, Family Ministry Director here at First Presbyterian in Bradenton, Florida. We started studying the book of Ecclesiastes back in January in our Family Discipleship Hour. And what I would do is during the week, I would post a recap video for people that missed the previous Sunday. Worked out fairly well. We're all the way up to chapter 3. Now, because of COVID-19, we're not meeting together as a church. We're going to continue studying the book of Ecclesiastes, and we'll just post these videos every Thursday. Like I said, we're in chapter 3, and this is a very exciting chapter. Let me catch you up just a little bit in case you didn't catch the previous videos, which you can go on YouTube and find the playlist for Family Ministry and check them out. But essentially, Ecclesiastes is a book written by Solomon, refers to himself as the teacher or the preacher. Koheleth is the word in Hebrew. And essentially, this book is a tool for evangelism. That's the way we're studying, because this book was written by a guy that was very wealthy, very powerful, and so he has an interesting perspective. He was wise, but he didn't actually apply a lot of that wisdom in his own life, which is interesting when you read it. And Solomon, in particular, had a very, very interesting way of writing. So he uses the phrase under the sun a ton throughout the book of Ecclesiastes. So you get a pretty clear picture that he's talking about a life void of God or separated from God. And of course, the opposite of that is a divine or a perfect perspective or God's perspective. So very, very interesting. There are a ton of verses in Ecclesiastes that would be easy to take out of context. We want to be very careful not to do that as we study this book as well. This chapter 3, happens to sport some lyrics from a song. I'm assuming the Byrds stole the lyrics from Ecclesiastes, obviously not vice versa, but Turn, Turn, Turn was the song, and almost verbatim, they took the lyrics right from this chapter. So we're going to read the first 15 verses. There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under heaven. A time to be born and a time to die. A time to plant and a time to uproot. A time to kill and a time to heal. A time to tear down and a time to build. A time to weep and a time to laugh. A time to mourn and a time to dance. A time to scatter stones and a time to gather them. A time to embrace and a time to refrain. A time to search and a time to give up. A time to keep and a time to throw away. A time to tear and a time to mend. A time to be silent and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. What does the worker gain from his toil? I have seen the burden that God has laid on men. He has made everything beautiful in his time. He has also set eternity in the hearts of men, yet they cannot fathom what God has done from beginning to end. I know that there is nothing better for men than to be happy and do good while they live, that everyone may eat and drink and find satisfaction in all his toil. This is the gift of God. I know that everything God does will endure forever. Nothing can be added to it and nothing taken from it. God does it so that men will revere him. I said it's important to know what season you're in. Here's why. Life gets confusing when we walk away from God's design. Just ask Adam and Eve. Essentially, if we look at the Genesis account, God designed something perfect. We sinned. Humankind walked away from God's design. And that's been the story of history now for thousands of years, right? God has a way, God has a path, and humans, we think we have a better way. We think we're going to fix it. And here in chapter 3, Solomon is laying out a lot of different ideas, but the main one that I see, not the beautiful part where there's a time for everything, but it's the part where it says eternity is set in the hearts of man. You see, I think innately there's this feeling that we go beyond the physical, like our life on earth. And so we look at that and we have to balance that with what we see and what we feel and what we're experiencing. And what we experience doesn't make sense. If you look at what is happening as I record this video, a worldwide pandemic, COVID-19, and governments and people and the economic effects and everything that surrounds this particular problem, it is incredibly difficult for people to grasp and for people to understand. So I, for one, love the idea that we need to be in the right season, we need to know our place, and we need to understand that there are some things that we're just not going to get. I think the real question that a lot of people has is, how can we enjoy life? Like, seriously, right now, how can we enjoy life? How can we even know God is in it? How can we find God in life? I have a lot of friends that are, I guess, Reformed or Calvinist, and they talk about God being like two-handed and having an active hand and a passive hand. And so whatever you get in life is coming from one of those two sides of God. I've got some other friends that are a little bit more charismatic, and they talk about the Holy Spirit a lot and how we need to flow with the Holy Spirit. And it's kind of like a kite in the breeze scenario. You're just flowing through life and letting things sort of happen. Either way that you look at that, God is at the center. Accepting the fact that God is in control is difficult. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm not going to say that that's an easy thing. If faith was easy, everybody would be exercising exceptional faith. Faith is not easy. But trusting that God is in control is the answer to finding enjoyment in life. Despite circumstances, despite trials, despite tribulations, despite problems that we experience. There are going to be things in life that happen to us that are outside of our control. There are going to be things in life that happen because of mistakes we made. Either way, we have a God that loves us, a God that forgives us, a God that provides a way for us to experience salvation, for us to live in His grace. And that is absolutely incredibly exciting. Solomon seems to like the idea of eating and drinking and finding enjoyment in those things. That's part of the solution, I guess. But for me, understanding that we are eternal is the most important thing that I can pull out of chapter 3 here. We'll study the second half of chapter 3 next time. Of course, that'll be next Thursday. Tune in for the live broadcast of it, or watch it anytime on YouTube. It'll be in the Family Ministry playlist. Again, my name is Larry. Thanks for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And Dwayne, we'll see you on Saturday mornings for breakfast and Bible study.